So now we're going to start to work on some of the homepage components, and I'm just going to bring over the theme just to kind of show you what we'll be doing. So I want to add this, the hero. Now the search functionality we won't be doing till much later, but at least we'll just at least get it shown on the page. So we'll do the hero, and then these two info boxes I want to do. So basically we'll have an info boxes component, which will be the grid that holds both of these, and then each one of these will be its own info box component that'll be reusable, and we'll take in certain properties like the background color, the text color, the button info, things like that. And then finally we'll do the footer as well, which is pretty simple, just has the logo. So those are the three things that I want to get done in this video. All right, so let's start with the hero. And you're going to have to use your theme files because we're going to grab the HTML from the HTML files. But let's create a new component here called hero.jsx, and we'll create a React component. And then let's just save it and import it into the home page because we don't want it on the layout because we don't want it on every page. So go to app and then page.jsx, and let's import hero. We can get rid of this link in the home page because we're going to get rid of these two lines right here. And let's put our hero. And we can use just a fragment here. We don't actually need a div. So if I save that, we should see the text hero. Refresh, that'll get rid of that. All right, so now in hero, we need to put our output, our JSX. So we're going to grab that from the theme files. So let's go to the index.html and the theme, and right below the nav is, let's see, yeah, right below the nav is this section right here. So we want to grab that whole thing. It has the text, it has the form. Later on, the search form will be its own component, but for now, we're just going to keep everything in the hero, just for simplicity for now. So let's get rid of this div and just put some parentheses, and then we'll paste in that section. And of course we want to change all the class instances to class name. So I'll do Command Shift L and class name. Let's save that, and then we should see it on the page. I think we're going to get an error because we do have some for attributes, which if you're using JSX, it needs to be changed to this HTML4. So let's go down to where we have our label with the for. I'm just going to select for equals and do a Command Shift L, and then do HTML uppercase F for, and save that, and now that error should go away. All right, cool. So that's all we need to do for the hero for now. Like I said, later on we'll deal with the search. So let's do the info boxes. And like I said, I want those to be kind of reusable and we can pass in props. So in components, we're going to have, again, two different components. One is going to be called info boxes.jsx. And we'll just do this one first. So let's say RAFCE. And I'll save that. And this is going to go in the home page as well. So here, let's import info boxes, and we'll put that right under the hero. So we should see the text info boxes. And then I'm going to go back to my theme files. And right here where it says renters and owners, we're going to grab that section. Okay, so we'll take that. And the reason I have an info boxes component is just so I don't have to fill the home page up with sections and all types of tags and classes. I just want it to be clean with just the components. So info boxes is where we want to put what we just copied. So we'll put that right here. So if I save that, we get our info boxes, but it's all hard-coded. Like I said, I want these to be reusable components. Also, we need to change the classes to class name. All right, so basically we have a section, we have the grid, and then inside that grid is those two info boxes. So this is the first one, and then this is the second. So I want these to be their own component, so let's create another component called infobox.jsx. Okay, and for this, we're going to want to pass in a few props. because I want to be able to change, of course, the text. You obviously want different text, the color, the background color, and then the button info, like the link, the text, the color, things like that. So in here, let's pass in some props. So first we'll do the heading. That'll be the heading text. And then let's do background color. And we can set defaults here as well. So we'll set the default to BG Gray 100. All right, and then we'll do the text color. And we'll do a default for that of text-gray-800. And then let's do button info, which will be an object. And then children is going to be whatever we wrap the component, around, which is going to be this text. Okay, so now what we can do is grab one of these divs here. So inside the grid, this div right here, which ends here, I'm going to grab that. It's this one with BG Gray 100. I'm going to grab that and then paste that in here. And then basically we want to just make this dynamic and utilize these values. So for instance, the heading is going to go here. So we want to replace that with heading. And then, let's see, this text here is going to be the children, because that's whatever we wrap. So here, say children, right? And then, let's see, the background color is going to replace this. So I want this class to be dynamic, so what I'll do is get rid of that single quote and put a curly brace and then a backtick and do the same at the end of it. So backtick, curly brace. That way, instead of using just BG Gray hard-coded, we can put in here a variable of background color. And then we'll do the same for text color for both the H2 and the paragraph. So again, I'm going to make this dynamic by using backticks, a template literal. Let's go to this side. Same thing. And then in here, we can add the text color. And then same thing for the paragraph. So in here, text color. And then for the button, which it's actually a link, but it's formatted as a button, we want the href here. Let's get rid of that. And let's put in here button info, which is an object that'll it'll have a link property. And then for the text, this right here, we'll say button info dot text. And then for the background color, let's again make this dynamic. Okay, and then replace the BG black with button info dot background color. And then the hover, instead of doing a color, let's just do hover opacity -80. Okay, so I think that's, yeah, we used all of them. So now what we can do is in info boxes, we'll bring in, let's import info box, and then we're going to replace the first box here, the hard-coded box. Get rid of that. Actually, we'll get rid of the second one as well, which ends right here. Okay, so now what we'll do is pass in or embed inbox, info box, and we're going to pass a bunch of stuff in. So first we'll do the heading. Let's see, the heading, let's set that to for renters, right? So heading, what else we got? Background color. We'll set that to BG Gray 100. Button info, that's an object with the text of, let's say, browse properties, right? Oh, you know what? Since it's an object in an attribute value, we actually need to have two curly braces. The first just represents that it's dynamic, that it's an expression, and then the second is the actual object. So text, and then let's do link. So that'll be slash properties. And then what else? We have the background color, which let's do BG black. All right, now instead of ending this with a slash, we want to get rid of that slash because remember, we're wrapping the text. So we want an opening info box and then a closing info box. And whatever we put in here will be this text. So I'm just going to grab that, put that in there, and then we'll save it. And there we go. So now this is dynamic. The colors, the text, everything, the link, that's all being passed in as a prop. So now let's grab this info box and let's create another one right under it. And we'll change this to for property owners. Change the color to BG blue 100. Change the text to add property. Link will be properties add. And the background color for the button will do blue 500. And then for the text, let me just grab that real quick. There we go. All right, so anytime you want to use an info box around the website, you can do that and you can pass in the props rather than having them just be hard-coded. All right, so now the last thing I want to do is the footer. So let's close those up, and in components, let's create footer.jsx. Okay, and then I'm going to grab from the theme. Down at the very bottom, we're just going to grab the footer tag. It's a very simple footer. Okay, and then we're going to replace this. Now we do need to bring in a couple things because we have an image. We have the logo, so we need the image component. That's going to be from next/image. And then we also want to bring in link. So link from next/link. And then we also want to bring in the logo. So that's going to be from @/assets/images/logo.png. All right, and then we'll go down to the image tag right here. Let's change that to uppercase I image. The source, we're going to change that to the logo we brought in. Let's save it and let's bring it into to the layout. So layout JSX, import footer, and then let's see, we're going to put it right under the main. Okay, there it is. Let's see, just reload to see if we have, okay, no errors. Whoop, we have something here. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to do class name in the footer, I believe. Yeah, so we want to make sure we change all of these to class name. All right, cool. What else did I want to do? So in the footer, the links right here, I want to change that to a link, and it's not going to be properties HTML, just /properties. Now I do have a terms link here. I mean, I guess you don't need that, but I'll just leave it. If you want to create a terms page, you can. Actually, no, let's just get rid of it. I don't want any broken links. And then the year, we could just leave it hard-coded, but what I'll usually do for a footer with the year is just create, let's say, current year. And we'll set that to new date. And let's do get full year. And then replace that with current year. All right, actually, you know what? That properties doesn't really look right there. I think I'm just going to get rid of the links, get rid of that UL or this div. Yeah, we'll just get rid of that. So we don't even need to bring in link. All right, cool. So we have those. The footer I do want to move down a little bit. So the MT Auto, I'm actually going to change that to MT24. That'll push it down more. And yeah, I think we're good to go. So in the next video, I want to start to display the properties. Now I know we haven't set up the database yet, but what we'll do is we'll work with a JSON file that has all the data so that we can create our property component and start displaying the data. Then later on, we'll start to create our API routes where we can hit and we can fetch from MongoDB after we set up our MongoDB database.